Hello dear friends, today we are going to see the concept of motivation. My dear friends, I would like to clarify one more thing here in front of you, is that today we are going to see the concept of motivation in context with organizational behavior. So it's very important for us to know the concept and then the context. So these are the two important contexts which we are going to see about the things. So now exactly when we are talking about that, when we are going to see that in the organizational behavior as a context, we should know what is meant by the organizational behavior. I am not going to cover here the full subject, but I am going to cover the concept which motivation talks about in organizational behavior. So now when we talk about organizational behavior is the academic study of how people interact within groups, and its principles are applied primarily in attempts to make businesses operate more effectively. So my dear friends, organizational behavior talks about three very important aspects. One is that how people interact in the group. My dear friends, it is really surprising that when we interact, do we interact as same as an individual, and as we are interacting in the group, our behavior is same? My dear friends, it is very interesting to say that the behavior is not same. When we talk about as an individual, our behavior is different, and when we talk about as a group or the group, the behavior in the group or behavior as a part of a group, it is something different. So it is academic study. This is very important to say. Organizational behavior is an academic study of how people interact in the groups. So when we are talking about organizations are made of people. This is very, very important to say. See my dear friends, organizations are not made of only machineries or not made of only buildings or any kind of other assets as such, but they are togetherly made with the people who are working in that. So when we are talking about organizational behavior, we have to study, because the businesses has to be run on the basis of the people who are working there. People are what? They are the human beings, and they are the human resources of the organization. So when we are talking about behavior, it is the study of a behavior of the human resources which are working there in the organization. This is one aspect of organizational behavior. The second, its principles are applied primarily in attempts to make businesses operate more effectively and efficiently. Why we are going to study this, that how people behave in the groups? My dear friends, we are going to study this because we have to run the business very effectively. This is very, very important. Everywhere, what is the main objective of any kind of organization? The basic objective is to really exist there in the competition, first of all. And then the second objective is to maximize the operations and to maximize the profits. When we are talking about maximization of the profits, we are talking about making more people effective, more efficient. Productive system should be more effective, more efficient, and this will be achieved only when the hands behind the machines, means the human resources behind the machines which are working, they should be more effective, and we have to make them effective. And in making them effective, we are going to see the motivation as one of the concept which talks about that how we can motivate people. Now it is very interesting concept, my dear friends. It is very interesting concept. When we talk about that, motivation plays a very important role. How it plays a very important role? I think that motivation is a kind of a word which daily everybody is using in its routine life. When we are talking about routine life, everybody talks about that somebody is motivating somebody, or I am not motivated today, I am demotivated today. Such kind of words we are using. So once we are using such kind of words, I think that some meaning is definitely known to everybody. But now here we are going to see what exactly mean by the motivation, because when we are talking about academic study, definitely motivation has to be studied in the context of the people, human resources. Now we are going to see that what is mean by the motivation. Some insight about the motivation. Motivation is a state of a mind. Please listen it very carefully. Motivation is a state of a mind filled with energy and enthusiasm, which drives a person to work in a certain way to achieve desired goals. Very interesting. Very interesting. If you talk about this is the insight about the motivation, what exactly mean by motivation? Now, if you talk about motivation, there are three important factors which are, if we see this insight about the motivation, if we intersect this definition of the motivation or insight of the motivation, we will come to know that there are three major aspects in this insight. One is that motivation is a state of mind. My dear friends, it is absolutely a psychological process. It is absolutely a psychological process. When we talk about that, human psychology plays a very important role in this. Now, my dear friends, if you talk about personalities, what is the definition of personality? You know that it is, I was very curious to know the definition of personality. And then I came to know that the definition of personality is nothing but it is a psychosomatic term. Means what? Personality is equal to mind plus body. So here mind is nothing but a psychological term. When we talk about the mind, it is a state of a mind. When we talk about that, motivation is a state of a mind. It is a psychological state of a person. The second very important thing is that about this insight is that it is filled with energy and enthusiasm. Motivation is a state of a mind filled with energy and enthusiasm. So it is like that in mind we are feeling very happy, we are feeling more energetic, we are having enthusiasm in our blood to work and to work towards certain goals. This is nothing but a motivation. And ultimately, this is a state of a mind which is filled with energy and enthusiasm, which drives a person. It's very important to know it is which drives a person to work in a certain way to achieve desired goals. My dear friends, everybody has a goal. There are individual goals, there are organizational goals. So when we have individual goals, we are directed towards achieving the goals. Sometimes we are motivated towards our achieving the goals. Sometimes we are demotivated towards achieving our individual goal. But whenever the organizational work is going on, it is always we have to see that people are highly motivated. They should have high energy levels with them. They should have high enthusiasm with them to work towards achieving the organizational goals. So it is very important to know, my dear friends, and this is about the insight. When we talk about the insight, ultimately the motivation is a force that pushes people to work with a high level of commitment and focus, even if things are going against him. See, my dear friends, we are going to see this concept more elaborately again in some next slides, and then we'll come to know that what exactly is the definition of a motivation. Before this, in the last slide, we have seen the insight about the motivation, and now we are going to see exactly the definition, academic definition of the motivation. Motivation can be described as the internal force that impacts the direction, intensity and endurance of a person's voluntary choice of behavior. Definitely, it is the definition of motivation. Now, there are three important concepts in this motivational definition. What is that three? Now, when we talk about the three, there are direction, intensity and persistence. Again, I am going to say the concept of definition of a motivation. Motivation can be described as the internal force that impacts the direction, intensity and endurance. These three are very important to talk about. Motivation gives us a direction to work in. My dear friends, we are not, that going here and there, we are never way, or we are never losing our track as far as we are working. That is what, if the persons are motivated, then they are motivated in such a pattern that they are working towards a certain direction. Maybe like if you are really, studying very hard to achieve a goal to become an MBA, then if you are motivated, you will be definitely putting your all the efforts towards achieving the goal of being MBA, towards getting a goal of MBA degree. So in motivation, you get a direction. This is very important. Means what? You are focused. Then very important second aspect in the definition of a motivation is that it gives you the intensity. It gives you the intensity. Intensity means the kind of efforts, the force of the efforts which you are applying to achieve the goal. That is the intensity. And when we talk about intensity, it definitely forces you, it definitely gives you the energy, it definitely gives you the utmost energy level to achieve the goal. When we talk about that the people are motivated and they are working in their proper direction to achieve the goal in a such a way they go by the kind of a speed which is very, very important for them, and they are working very hard to achieve the goals. And third very important word is the endurance. Means what? We talk about the persistence. Motivation, in the last slide we have seen, though if there are certain kind of a problems in achieving any goal, if a person is motivated, he is always trying very hard. What may be any kind of a problem is there in the path, he is always, or he or she is always working very hard towards achieving the goal. He may get any kind of a unsuccessful attempt, he may find any kind of unsuccessful attempt, but that person, he or she, will definitely try again and again and again. So this happens if the personality is motivated. Again we are going to see that. Just to recap with the kind of three concepts which are there in the definition, is that motivation, we work in a motivated person works in a direction. Second thing is that motivated person works with the intensity. And the third is that motivational person, the person, if he is motivated, she is motivated, they are, what may be the problems in their path, they will again and again try to get it very hard towards achieving their goal. Until they achieve their goal, they will not wait. So that is about the concept and the definition of motivation. So my dear friends, this is very important. You know that when we talk about that, we will see one or two photographs here. Now I am going to see, this is the photograph in front of you now. When we talk about this photograph, there are three players. This is about football. There are three players. One player is trying to handle a ball, second player is waiting to get a pass, and the third player is the opposition player who is trying to intersect them. Here if you see these three personalities, when you talk about their body language, when you talk about their energy levels, when you talk about their eyesights, you will come to know that they are highly motivated. The person who is having the ball at his foot in their control may be trying to get a goal for their team, and the person of the opposition may be putting down these efforts which are given by the team which would like to have a goal. That definitely a person from opposition side would like to resist, that they should not put a goal on there. So these three people, if you see their personalities, they are absolutely highly motivated. Now here by this photograph you will come to know that when you talk about that, there were three very important things we have seen in the concept and the definition of motivation. One is that direction. If you see this photograph, they are working in a typical direction. One team is working in a typical direction of getting a goal or scoring a goal. Other team is working to resist that typical team for not having a goal. This is one, they are working in typical direction. Second, they are working with the intensity. See their energy levels. From the photographs you can definitely make it out. See their energy levels. And when you talk about their energy levels, they are working with high intensity, high energy levels, high enthusiasm. This is how we talk about the motivated people. And the third very important thing is that what may be the result of their at present strategy. If it is not getting converted into the goal, they will try again and again. That is what we are trying to get it from their personality. They will try again and again, and this is nothing but the persistence. So when the people are motivated, they are working in a typical direction, they are working with full intensity of their energy levels, with high enthusiasm, and ultimately they are what may be the results. Unless and until they achieve their targets, they will try on getting their goals and achieving their targets. This is nothing but a concept of motivation. Now when we see about that, we will see one more photograph. This is the photograph of, I don't know whether you might have came across such personality, Arunima Sinha. When we talk about Arunima Sinha, those who know about the personality of Arunima Sinha will definitely, that come to know that what kind of a status in the life she has attained. Those who are not knowing about Arunima Sinha, I will just explain it, just few lines. Arunima Sinha was a player, basketball player, and she was traveling from a train, and then ultimately in train there were some kind of gangsters. They tried to snatch her chain, golden chain she was having in her neck. They tried to snatch their chain. She, as being a sports person, she resisted them. When she resisted them, ultimately these gangsters pushed Arunima Sinha out of the train when the train was absolutely with a speed of more than 60 km per hour. When she was thrown away from the train, she lied there. She was thrown away there on the track, in between two tracks of the train, and her leg was broken, and this has happened somewhere in the night. Her leg was broken. She was having lot of that injuries in her spinal cord also, and she was lying there for nearly more than 10 hours. When she was lying there for 10 hours, then people in the morning, they came to know from the nearby villages that one person, the lady, is lying there in between two tracks of the train. They picked her up, they admitted her to the hospital, and there they came to know that she has already lost her one leg. You know that after hearing such kind of a news, anybody will definitely get disheartened, will definitely have a lot of problems in the life. But when we talk about that, she never got a disheartened about this. When she was admitted, ultimately her leg was amputed, and when her leg was amputed, ultimately she was lying there in a bed, and there she saw a kind of the kind of a picture that she is moving over the Mount Everest, and she is conquering over the Mount Everest. And that time, lying over the bed in the hospital, she has decided she will definitely conquer and she will climb Mount Everest. And ultimately, before 3 years, she climbed Mount Everest, and she has ultimately summited the Mount Everest. Why she has done such kind of a thing, adventurous thing in her life? Ultimately, she has done it because of a motivated personality behind her. When we talk about that, her mental, psychological feelings were highly motivated. Again, we are coming back to the concept. Motivation gives you the direction. Motivation gives you the intensity, the energy levels which you work with, the enthusiasm with work with. And the ultimately last one is that every person who is motivated is typically working again and again. What may be the problems in front of them, they are working again and again to achieve their ultimate target. So this is nothing but the concept of motivation. So my dear friends, definitely we'll go ahead with some kind of a theories. Until that, we'll definitely close down this session here. Thank you.